Going to be continuing the Instagram question-a-thon.
Amazing.
So if you don't follow me on Instagram, head on down there and follow. I would absolutely love that. And this question is from All About Home 2014. Hi. And you wanted to know, if you're developing your inner voice, how can you validate and trust what it says? I always try to test mine, winky face, by asking it random facts and questions, but I get wrong answers. So I'm hesitant with trusting what it says now. Okay, so how do we trust our inner voice? So there's no shortcut to trusting your intuition, your inner voice. What you have to do is you have to have a regular meditation practice. I cannot stress this enough. Whenever I'm working with somebody and they're not getting a message clearly, the first thing that we discuss is their meditation practice. And a lot of the times when the messages start getting foggy, the meditation practice has fallen to the wayside. It's so important. When we are living our everyday life and we are worrying about, you're worried about getting your kids to school, you're worrying about a family member that's ill, you're worried about making lists, you're analyzing a conversation that you've had with someone, that is not a psychic state. Our 3D state, our natural 3D state at this time in society is not a psychic state, which is why, people aren't running around, doing psychic things openly and things like that. The state that our society values is a overactive mind state, right? And that is not the state where you're going to get intuition very clearly. The intuitive insights that are going to come through for you are probably going to be emergency stuff. Usually people, if they're living in that normal state, kind of overactive mind, and mind is not bad. We need mind to exist. We need ego to exist. We need the detailed structure of mind. We need that. But we don't need it to take up all of our energy, and we don't need to process all of our perception through it, because it's not the right structure. And I talk about this actually in my intuition development course, what mind does to psychic energy specifically. So you want to cut that back. You want to cut that back quite a bit. You want to have a time where you're meditating for at least 5 minutes a day. But that's a lot if you've never done it. You'll notice yourself harmonizing more. And so the first thing is that I have to ask you is, how often are you meditating and what's the quality of your meditation? Because what ends up happening is, and I have in my course, I have a specific type of meditation that I recommend, and I really get into it. But if you're just in a receptive, meditative state, that's going to make all the difference, because what happens is when you slow down and you harmonize, what ends up happening is that your inner voice can become very, very, very loud, louder and louder and louder and louder. But in order to get that inner voice loud, you have to practice holding the right psychic state. So my first suggestion is to really nail that. We're not going to be very good psychics if we're not able to hold this state in which we can hear. The natural mind state will be too fast. It's too fast, and there's too many boxes. Psychic information needs to come in whole, and it's bigger, and it will fragment. And that's why you're getting information that isn't correct is because it's mostly probably just your overactive mind, and that's not psychic. There is claircognizance, which is mind. It works with the structures of your mind, but it's not your mind. So there's a little bit of a difference there. How can you validate and trust what it says? Well, through your intuition development journey, which will probably, to be completely honest with you, be years, if not, longer. To develop your intuition is a lifelong study. A lot of esoterica is, a lot of psychic stuff is a lifelong journey. It's something that you become seasoned in and that you sink more and more into, but it's always evolving. And I find that because our psychic ability is so linked in with our personal life, you will have high times where you just find like, I am so psychic today. Hooey! I wish I was reading for someone today because I am on. And then you have times where you feel like you're maybe at like 30% or something, like capacity, not necessarily accuracy, but like you feel as though you're just not getting the depth of information that you usually get. And that's really normal because it waxes and wanes and it waxes and wanes. And there's always going to be parts of your own consciousness that you're not living in all the time, like our wounds and things like that. And so when we naturally oscillate into a position where we're designed to be dealing with that, then our psychic gifts can fall away. You may find that you're not getting the information as clearly, and it doesn't feel the same. And so expect your psychic abilities to shift and to not always feel the same, okay? And another thing that you mentioned is that you keep trying to test your psychic ability and your intuition. Just the way that you said that is telling me that you have an expectation. So it's kind of like in the back of your mind, you can know that you are trying to validate your ability. But if you come at your intuition as though you don't trust it and you have to test it and you have all these expectations, there's way too much going on with that for your intuition to be able to speak to you. You got to let that go. You got to let your expectations go. I promise you that your intuition is going to feel in a way that you probably haven't really felt in your life, and it's going to communicate in ways that expand you. It's not going to work how we think it works. And so because of that, we have to let go of what we think. We have to let go of all expectations. Expectations, besides not meditating enough and not actually being in the correct state, a backdrop state, it is that we have expectations. So I think that my intuition has to be a vision. I think that my intuition has to give me the right answer to what kind of animal that is, or what is this person thinking, and now my intuition has to give me the right information. Your intuition is not an accessory. It's not something that you just apply to your life and it just gives you answers. It's actually a force. Your intuition is a force that you have to train yourself to wield. And even when you get yourself to a point where you can pretty much get some type of information anytime you tap in, whether it be big or small, it's still a force, and you're still not necessarily going to get the information that you want. And so part of intuition is knowing that you're in your intuition's house. Your intuition isn't in your house. Your intuition is you. It's a higher part of you, the largest part of you. We're in the physical realm. We're like a tip of the iceberg. We are the conglomerate of, we're like a little, physical embodiment of spirit. Like spirit is where it's at. That's where our truest self is. That's where all of our timelines are. That's where our life purpose is pure. That's where our, you know, virtuous self is, if you will. And so, you know, when we're here, you know, our intuition doesn't respond how we want it to. We have to learn the language of spirit, the language that has survived the rise and fall of time. It's an archetypal language, a symbolic language. And you have to let that shape you and craft you like water crafts a rock. That's how you have to let it. So testing it, I would reapproach that as more like, I keep an intuition journal of all of the premonitions that I have, or I have a dialogue with my guides, and sometimes I think it might be me talking, it feels more like me, but then sometimes something comes through and woo, I did not write that. And so you want to kind of, more than like put yourself on the spot and test yourself, that's probably pressurizing it way too much. You want to understand that your intuition is a force, and you make space for it, you hold it, you communicate with it, you surrender to it, you try to translate and physicalize and crystallize what you can, and then you let it go. And over the years, hopefully you have kept a record of your intuition enough so that you can look back and see where you're right. To be completely honest with you, to be totally honest with you, it usually takes years for you to really fully see your gifts and to fully see your identity as a psychic and as an intuitive. It really is something that with hindsight you understand, but in the moment you're not necessarily going to get. It's that's how big it is. And so I hope that makes sense, just because, you know, you're kind of I think that you're putting you're putting too much pressure on your intuitive state, and for that reason it's not you're not getting enough energy. You're not, because you're creating such a small little place for your intuition to form within you, because it's like you have to answer now, it's on this and that's gonna lower your odds of getting any information, because it's too small of a place for something so big. And you know, the best psychics that I've ever seen, that I've ever known, were so beautifully soft, and were so there's a surrender to them, and there was an ability to lose themselves. And obviously, to be very good at it, you have to have the discipline to know how to manage that energy and how to come back and how to wield it. I'm not saying that these are some of the best psychics I've seen are just mushy and just weak or unable to wield their power. It's that they have the ability to completely let go and be shaped, and then translate those shapes. And those are some of the best psychics that I've ever seen. And they can be firm, they can be strong, and that's what's allowed them to be great, is also that masculine firm side supporting their feminine, more intuitive side. But that is what they have, and that is what I think every psychic can aspire to be, is to have both of these sides very, very strong, you know, really strong, really impressionable, really open, really soft, really powerful inner child energy, lots of light, and then also really strong and really detail oriented, really have boundaries. Also boundaries, that's a huge, I should do a video on that. But you have to have both. If you don't have a strongly developed masculine side within you and a strongly developed feminine side within you, and keep deepening these and having them dance together, then you're not going to function very well, and your higher self will prioritize you balancing these and strengthening them before you really get your abilities working and flowing. I was on social media, and I saw someone say, like, I think it was another intuitive, and there's a lot of intuitives coming forward with teachings and stuff. And I saw someone say, you know, we need to cut back the masculine. Everybody needs to just take their masculine energy and, you know, cut it back. Please don't do that. Please honor your masculine energy and please honor your feminine energy. These are fundamental parts of you as a human. And if you try to shame one part of yourself or cut one part of yourself off, then the other part of you will fall deep, deep, deep into its shadow. You will fall into the shadow side of both of your abilities and you'll be caught in your wounds. Your feminine needs to be strong, your inner feminine, which oftentimes is your ability to enmesh with others. It's your ability to observe rather than always act. You know, it's your ability to nourish yourself, nourish others, and then your masculine, which a lot of the times, especially in psychic work, is your boundaries. It's your structure. It's getting specifics rather than having everything be so nebulous a lot of the time. And so if you want to be really good at intuition, you really have to have a space and honor your masculine, because you need to command your energy. You do. And you want to honor your feminine because you need to let people in and things in and life in, okay? So I hope that you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for checking out my Instagram and answering my questions and being here. And as always, all my love your way. And I will see you very